AP students must think critically about literature. They must work with and embrace the complexity of their assigned readings. Yet students often need support when working with complex sources. Teachers offer that support within the classroom, but what do students do when reading on their own? Often, they turn to study aids like Cliff's or Spark's Notes. Well, what's wrong with that? Study aids attempt to simplify literature rather than to grapple with the complexity that characterizes quality pieces. Don't believe me? Let's take a look. Let's pick a character or a situation from Crime and Punishment, and let's approach it the way a struggling student would. Let's Google it, or Bing it, or dogpile it, whatever. Let's presume you read the story and that you understand the basic plot, but that you're left struggling with the meaning of the whole. Mrs. Kohlmeyer's questions echo through your mind. So what? Why is this important? Who cares? How does this add to the complexity of the novel? Take Raskolnikov, for example. What is his deal? Well, here's what Spark has to offer. Wow, that's a lot of information, isn't it? And it sounds pretty good, too. Words like schismatic, transgressor, and malcontent are lofty and sound intellectual. But how much help does this really offer? Well, surely Cliff will offer better insight. Okay, maybe not. It seems old Uncle Cliff just repeats the same thing that Mr. Spark does. Granted, there are a few more details and a specific plot reference, but nothing that speaks to the significance of these traits. Well, how about Wikipedia? It makes things really simple, right? Yep, simple. 9 lines on one of literature's most enigmatic characters. Pink Monkey, Book Rags, they all repeat the same ideas. Some of you may be thinking, but I didn't know that before. Well, I suppose there is some merit to these study aids then. They may reveal aspects that you hadn't fully considered. But at some point you reach a dead end. These guides only take you so far. They still don't tell you why that characteristic is important or how it adds to the complexity of the novel. In fact, what these study aids do is to just make obvious the points that the average Joe should know. So what is an earnest student to do? 1. Come to class where we will be reviewing the critical stances you learned last year and applying them to Crime and Punishment. 2. Seek credible, scholarly sources that attempt to build upon the complexity of the novel, that ask readers to consider the obvious facts in a new and richer light. Where can these sources be found? Well, the library resources page, of course. Databases located there offer scholarly, critical examinations of major literary selections. Let's look at Crime and Punishment, for example. In EBSCO's Literary Reference Center, there are over 75 different resources available, ranging from plot summaries, offered at a higher level than Old Spark, to complex examinations and arguments on the novel. Let's see how these critical essays help with our understanding of Raskolnikov. Here's one that offers a pretty good introduction to Raskolnikov's character as a whole, and it's attributed in part to Harold Bloom. Here's one that offers a good introduction to Raskolnikov's character as a whole. It's attributed to Harold Bloom, one of the best-known literary critics of all times, so that's a good sign. Here's one called Character Profiles that starts with The Split. We read about that earlier in Cliff's Note. But it works to explain its nature and then goes on to link it to the other characters who act as foils for Raskolnikov's divided nature. Hey, that's an interesting idea and something we haven't heard before. This criticism, offered from a psychological and formal perspective, suggests that Dostoevsky created each character purposefully, mainly to juxtapose their wholeness with Raskolnikov's sense of division. Now that's something new, something complex, and something that encourages the kind of thinking that AP English requires.